let's talk about Emoni Bates and Memphis and Jalen Duren to an extent.
Okay.
They beat Virginia Tech at what tournament did they play? Was it the NIT tournament?
Yes, it was in New York, right?
Think it was the NIT season tip-off. That's ringing a bell for some reason. They played Virginia Tech, beat that team by 8 points. They played Iowa State, lost to Iowa State by 12. I did not think they looked good in either game. Their athleticism defensively just kind of overwhelmed and under athletic by Power 5 standards Virginia Tech team that, has Keve Aluma and Storm Murphy and Hunter Couture out there. Those guys just aren't amazing athletes by any stretch. Naheem Aline is probably their best athlete as among the starters, at least. And he went for 21. The guy that kind of matched up best with them is the one that went off, which shouldn't come as a huge surprise, I guess. I have some worries about what we've seen from Memphis and Emoni Bates so far. Before I get into mine, I will give you the floor to
thank you.
Jump in. Well, look, I'm happy to take it, but I want to
throw
make
this grenade in the room and close the door. You can start by battering yourself in and putting rocks on your head.
You can take this positively. I'm good to be the bad guy on this.
I can do both. I can straddle. Yeah. I've sort of been dreading this conversation as we have, and here's why. We have the cop out. He's not draft eligible. So I didn't even have a line in my document on Emoni Bates because I don't have to. We'll talk about him in a year. Hope he figures it out. Scoot Henderson has messed up a lot of people's worlds this week, and one of them is Emoni Bates because they're in the same class. They're the same age. Yeah. And Scoot's doing against pros, and Emoni's struggling against Virginia Tech and Iowa State. Emoni's not been good. It's been a painful watch. He's really out of position playing point guard. And with all his touches and all his usage, he's averaging 1.5 assists to 2.8 turnovers per game. Not making the right reads. He's turning it over. The shot selection is questionable. He always goes back to his right hand. Even when he's driving left, he's leaning back to his right for a finish. He just doesn't have that quick twitch, really craft or processing either. I think the move here is, and I'm not a basketball coach, and I'm not telling Penny Hardaway or Larry Brown and Cody Topper. Those guys are way smarter than I am basketball-wise. We need to get him on the wing. I know they don't really have a point guard. I don't know if it's Tyler Harris. I don't know if it's Alex Lomax. I don't know who it is. But that Iowa State game, I actually rewatched it this morning because I'm I got to go back. I don't want to just say this is my reaction off this. He had one play where he ran wide. The ball advanced to him. He pulled up and hit a three. Just do that. Don't overcomplicate it. He's also, I'm going to give him this benefit. He's 17 years old. He turns 18 in January. For him and his basketball development, I'm actually happy he's in college. You can do the G League thing in a year. That's life comes at you. This is life comes at you fast, not really fast. He's learning from Penny Hardaway. He's learning from Larry Brown. Take your criticism here as opposed to the G League where he would take lumps or 30 points a game at Yipsy Prep playing Mikey Williams and Vertical Academy, whatever it is. There's here at Memphis, there's a newfound level of accountability, but those guys are letting him play. They're letting him figure it out. I think for his own self and his own basketball future, and it's still very bright, still 17 years old. So I don't want people going crazy. He's better suited as a wing. He's not a point guard. He's a wing with very good vision. I just don't want him initiating the offense. And you can see it's so forced that he feels like he has to make a play every time that he's over dribbling almost by, he thinks, necessity.
So I think where I'd push back on that just a little bit, because I think almost 100% of what you said is right there. Mm-hmm. I'm really glad he's in college. I think it's better for his development that he's in college. I think that it makes sense for his developmental trajectory to take his lumps here. I think that's all right. Are we sure he has good vision? Because here's what I would say. I think that sometimes he's a good passer.
Right.
I don't think he has good vision. And the reason that I say that is you watch him coming out of ball screens, and I don't even think he's looking at the help defender. I'm just going to say, I don't think he's looking to see, okay, is the help defender coming over to tag the roller, or is he staying home on the shooter?
Right.
Who's open? Is Jalen Duren going to be open for a lob? Is Malcolm Dandridge going to be open for a lob? There was a play, he came around a ball screen, I believe from Jalen Duren, had the pocket like short roll pass open to Duren, who could then drive and had like a wide open driving lane.
Yep.
Had a cross corner kick if he really wanted it to, I forget who was in the corner. It might have been Landers Nolly. Mm-hmm. And had a same side kick out as well, because the defenders had decided to essentially stack the paint. Yep. And this was against Iowa State. Instead, he just puts his head down, drives into 3 defenders, turns it over. I think that most evaluators have seen the like crazy spinning, like behind the back or behind the head pass out of bounds. Mm-hmm. That was not
ideal.
All that good. Yeah. Not ideal. Let's go. I agree with you totally that he's not a point guard. Mm-hmm. But even to play as a secondary ball handler and as a shot creating wing, you still need to be able to make reads out of ball screens and still need to be able to make reads that get your teammates and your team more efficient shots. And again, this is going to be good for him to be at Memphis to take these lumps because he's 17. He would not have learned this in high school, would not have learned this stuff on the AAU circuit. Hopefully he will learn it at Memphis.
Right.
But that's the next step for Emoni, because right now he is pretty harmful against good teams offensively because he doesn't make those reads. He's good in transition, but in half court settings, he's actually pretty harmful. And then we go to the defensive side.
Yes.
It's been bad. Like there was a play that I sent you where they were in like a 3/4 court kind of like semi press, I guess, let's say, like a soft press, and then sank back. And I think what was supposed to happen was they were supposed to sink back. So I went back and watched the next possession, and they were in like a similar style zone. And I think what was supposed to happen was they were supposed to sink back into like a 1-3-1, 2-3 hybrid kind of like 3-2 hybrid kind of thing.
Yep.
And Emoni did not know it and just chased his guy around to the other side of the court. And the spot where he was supposed to be on the left wing, who was it? I believe it was Gabe Kalsher, ended up with like a wide open 3. Whenever teams attack him as a help defender, he just consistently ball watches and leaves his guy, and there's a kick out open every single time.
Yep.
He really needs to lock in on the defensive end, because there have been a lot of moments that have been very, very, very negative. I honestly would like to see Penny Hardaway start to like force some accountability and like take him off the court whenever he makes these mistakes, because some of them are like, I don't know what your thought process was there. And he's getting, like, you can see like against Iowa State, like I forget, like I think he turned the ball over at one point and like he fell on the ground and like had the ball in his hand still, and he slammed ball on the ground like 3 times, and Jalen Duren like went up to him and was like, hey dude, like, you know, it's all good. Like we got you. It was like being a really good teammate, but like you can see that he's starting to get a little bit frustrated as well, I think. And I'm a bit worried about Emoni Bates right now.
They're stronger defenders too. I mean, Iowa State did a really good job of rotating and double teaming and stepping up in the paint too. That there's times, and it's still an adjustment for him, because he would get a friendly whistle in high school. People know who he is. Like refs aren't going to come in and pretend like they don't know who he is. So when you go in the lane, you get hit, you're going to get a whistle. Some freshmen get them, sometimes you don't. I think his brain's a little bit cloudy coming off pick and rolls, and I think part of this developmental thing that we talk about is that he's never been a point guard. I know you have to know how to come off pick and rolls, but he's always been like one-track minded where like, I'm going to get 40, so I'm coming off to look to score. I don't think he's been asked to really see the guy in the corner, the roll man, a short roll. So he's coming off like freedom. I have a step. I need to shoot. As a point guard, that's very dangerous. Defensively, it's there's some lost in space stuff there. No questions asked. Again, I'll just hammer this home and why I said the day he signed and committed, and I stick true to this. Memphis was still the right place because he's doing this, and we're talking about this. And I said I dreaded talking about this. This is not a national story. Like people are kind of whispering about it, talking in basketball circles. This isn't the lead in on SportsCenter that you lose by 20 and you're on the road, and it's a slow process being at Memphis. This wasn't at 9:30 in Vegas with 20,000 people and 100 NBA scouts. NBA scouts were there. I talked to people who left being like, this was a little bit disappointing, and left saying, well, man, Jalen Duren and Emoni Bates combined for 0 points in the first half. Like, what am I watching? Why am I here and not in Vegas? It's going to get to that point. Like, people are going to start to poke holes eventually, but he's been able to – he hasn't warmed up, but there's more time on his clock to get there before people start really getting concerned. I'm worried. I'm worried, yes, to note that, but I'm not totally, like, off it quite yet because I want to give him the benefit of playing 10 games as a 17-year-old.
Yeah, and – we're talking about it now. I mean, we didn't lead with it on the podcast. We are not SportsCenter, obviously. A weirdly large number of people listen to this podcast for some reason, but
that's fine. They're fans of the bathroom art I have behind me, the tiling. It's actually peel-off wallpaper. My wife put it up. It's really nice. Anyway, I agree with you.
But yeah, like we didn't lead with it because we don't think that we think he's 5 games into his career and we want to be patient on some level. I also just worry so he's 6'8", let's say. Okay.
Yeah. That around that range. He's not 6'9", but I think he measured at 6'7", but they list him at 6'8" or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So 6'7", 6'8", something like that. Even wingspan. Doesn't have any real vertical pop in half court settings.
Right.
Very skinny frame. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't learn to make these high level passing reads, what is the upside? Is kind of where I'm coming to with this.
That's the problem. If he doesn't hit shots, where does he go? If he can't finish, it would be one thing if he was shooting 45% from 3, but hey, like at the rim, he's in the 5th percentile on synergy. Like that, okay, that's fixable. That's a weight room, that's reps, whatever. But when they're both bad, that's where you start to say, like, I don't know what that is then. Whereas we do have other freshmen and Caleb Houston and Max Christie that have been up and down, and we're kind of giving them a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt. It's harder for Emoni because he had these unreal expectations as
unfair, frankly,
very unfair as this generational talent. And we've seen time and time again, like those guys, it's hard to reach that, and that's why you look at LeBron James, and it's just incredible that he's reached those heights and then some. For Emoni, you're just always like living up to that. I'm sure it's an incredibly heavy burden to carry, but unfortunately, we're in a business, we're in an industry of evaluation and tens of millions of dollars spent on draft picks and people's livelihoods online if you miss, and he can't miss. So he's going to have to do more to gain more fans, and he has time. He's also not draft eligible. So this can be a conversation, again, we'll have 5 times in the next year, but there needs to be growth for the next time we talk.
Yeah, like to me, this is not a we're writing Emoni Bates off conversation.
No,
this is okay, constructively, this is what we hope to see moving forward. This is where we think the spaces are where he can take a leap. And hopefully when we talk about him again in a month and a half or whatever, looks fine.
Yeah,
right.
This is like the halfway through the year progress report, parent teacher conferences, when you're brought in and they say, hey, like he's got 3 in effort. He's better than this. He can get to a 2, 1 a little bit. This isn't a report card. This is a transcript. We got time before those come out.